All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Welcome and great to have you in the session on the SAP Community YouTube channel. Today, we will talk about ESG, environmental, social, and governance, disclosure, and sustainability performance. ESG, as I've already mentioned, stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance, and it is a framework used by investors, customers, consumers, regulators to measure a company's sustainability, ethical impact, and operational transparency beyond its traditional financial performance. Today, I'm very happy to have two experts with me. We have Tatjana Moench, who is Head of Sustainability in Finance, Spend, and Business Data Cloud at SAP. And we have Bilge Akdur, who is Global Lead SAP Sustainability Control Tower. My name is Larissa Brinkmann from the SAP User Groups organization, and I'm your host. Feel free to post your questions via live chat on the YouTube so we can answer them after the presentation. And of course, please leverage this unique opportunity of interaction with our experts. Please note, in order to post your question, you need to be signed in on YouTube so we know who is asking. And now let's get started. And over to you, Tatjana.
Thank you so much, Larissa. Welcome everyone from my side as well. We have prepared the following agenda for you all today. So first, we will introduce the topic by embedding it in the broader context, which is sustainability in the SAP Autonomous Enterprise. We will then deep dive into one of these aspects of sustainability, which is the topic of today, specifically around audit-ready ESG reporting and sustainability performance. And we will then look a little bit at which companies already run on this topic with SAP and which resources we have for you as well as a community to further learn, deep dive more, and upskill yourself on the topics. And then, of course, we will also have sufficient time for Q&A. And with that, I will start right away with the bigger context. If you are SAP community, you will have followed the latest happenings this year around the autonomous enterprise that SAP has introduced and is facilitating, which is the context for today's session as well. And basically what it does, the autonomous enterprise, is enable you and your people in your companies to do the best work they can do without being held back by workflows that are maybe too laborious or too detailed. And so it is not about uncontrolled automation and AI that runs by itself. It is really about a business that can sense and act and decide better and faster by embedding AI into workflows and processes so that everything responds when circumstances change, when conditions change, enabling you as a business to act faster and better. And all of that not in an uncontrolled way, but with the governance, the accountability, and the traceability built in from the start and by design to not let AI act on its own. And then where does sustainability fit into this? If we say that an autonomous enterprise is about business flows and workflows that operate in the best way possible, of course, sustainability cannot sit outside of that. It needs to be a controlling factor inside these business flows. And this is what we see on this side. So the autonomous enterprise happens on the bottom, on the top part. What you see here is where the execution happens. And this is where sustainability is built in with the sustainability solutions, but also the agents, and also embedded into the domain assistants that then help execute decisions right where they need to be made. So not in the aftermath when processes in finance, supply chain, procurement, operations have already happened, but really considering sustainability as a factor within these business processes to make decisions, considering sustainability in there already. And then on the bottom part, this is really where the foundation, the enabling foundation for all of this is sitting with the SAP Business AI platform. So this is what really provides the platform that is needed in terms of the data, the knowledge, the models to enable these decisions that are made on the top being based on harmonized data that is with the same semantics across whichever business process you are using it in, and also enabling accountability, auditability, and extensibility to govern and build and contextualize your autonomous enterprise. Now, how do we see sustainability as SAP? We basically see it in 3 sustainability priorities, which you can see here on the right. And then within each priority, we have 3 value propositions. Because the way that we see sustainability at SAP is that, yes, it should always help you comply with regulations, for example, but of course also go beyond that, because in today's world, it's not sufficient anymore to just have sustainability as a compliance topic. It also should always help you save cost, increase revenue, have better margins, maybe increase your competitive advantage by differentiation. So all of this is what we try to capture in this framework of looking at priorities and value propositions. And we will go through each of these in a minute. And then on the bottom, again, we see the harmonized sustainability data foundation, which is embedded in the Business AI platform, and also the ability to extend beyond what SAP offers and integrate also to other parts outside of SAP. So now let's look at these 3 sustainability priorities. The first one being ESG disclosure and sustainability performance. And the way we look at it is that we always have on the left, what you see here, so-called key triggers is what we name them, right? So why do we even talk about this topic? Why is it important? One, and here we see regulatory drivers, but also non-regulatory drivers. So what makes you as a company act? And in this priority, we have things like CSRD, Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive from the EU, but it can also be IFRS S1, S2 if you're more global. It can be SB 253, specifically in California, with an impact on the US. It can also be setting decarbonization targets according to SBTI. But it's also things like carbon getting a price now through ETS schemes or the carbon border adjustment mechanism, which then has an impact on your margins again and your cost structures. So all of these drivers basically necessitate the need to act. And then we look at the middle layer here, which is how we do that. And so, of course, the autonomous enterprise is nothing that comes from today to tomorrow, but really needs to be approached in a maturity model. So we always have first an intelligence maturity stage, let's say, where it's all about gaining visibility and transparency into the data, having the right data in place and having intelligence on that data by, for example, detecting gaps and then ensuring compliance, ensuring audit readiness as well. Then we have the next stage, which is really getting into optimization. So how can this model then help you optimize business performance by, for example, controlling financial exposure and introducing sustainability factors into things like cost control or performance management. And then when this basis is built is when we go towards the autonomous enterprise, really, where then workflows are carried out by agents, where exceptions accelerate or escalated based on rules, and workflows are controlled by certain variables. And then how do we get there? This is then when we always look at what are the underlying solutions, especially from sustainability, and which agents do we have sitting on top of them. And there we have a few solutions, which one of them being Sustainability Control Tower, which we will look at more in depth later throughout this session. And then on the bottom layer here, what you see is the reference to always trying to enable business value. So in this case, it's all about protecting trust by, for example, having better compliance, faster compliance as well, having increased auditability, being able to trust your data and show that also to stakeholders like regulators or investors, as just mentioned by Larissa. And then, of course, if you can generate that transparency, it's also about, for example, reducing your cost of capital because your investors have a better view onto what your company does in terms of sustainability. Then also it's about managing exposure. So if we speak about carbon having a cost now, how can we reduce that cost? And how can we at the same time protect and even increase margins? And then also we have improved performance, which is everything around indeed, for example, reducing your cost of goods sold, but also about protecting and increasing your brand value. Now we will deep dive into this priority now in a minute, but before I want to quickly look at the other priorities. First one being about sustainable and safe operations. So this is for the ones of you that operate in this space, everything around environmental health and safety and product compliance, also triggered by many different regulations in that space, around worker safety, around environmental permits to operate, around REACH and ROSE, everything in the product compliance space. Of course, the need to regulate this environment a lot, because if not, you have workers and human health at risk. And you want to, of course, do that in a better, more safe and more efficient way. And then the last priority is about sustainable products and supply chain traceability. So this is where we look specifically at products now and the different requirements that are posed onto them, also by regulations, but also by stakeholder expectations. And here we have things like digital product passports. We have plastics and plastic waste regulation in the EU. We have extended producer responsibility fees, which are not only present in the EU, but also across the globe. We have the EU deforestation regulation. So all of these regulations really about showcasing that products and supply chains are responsible, are sustainable, and how can you do that in the most efficient way, again, transparent way, but also again, drive insights out of these compliance pieces to improve your business. And achieving things like protecting your market access, because if you don't show these attributes, you may be denied market access, but also how can you improve cost predictability or protect product and supply chain continuity. So all of these things are triggered with this priority. But now I already want to hand over to my colleague Bilge, because we will deep dive into the first of them in ESG disclosure and sustainability performance, and looking specifically then at audit-ready ESG reporting. Bilge, over to you.
Thank you so much, Tatjana. So building on what we have discussed about the autonomous enterprise, sustainability reporting is one of the clearest examples of why organizations need connected, intelligent business processes. So sustainability reporting has reached a tipping point. What was once a voluntary narrative has become regulated, auditable disclosure. Whether we are talking about ESRS in Europe, IFRS globally, GRI, or regulations such as California SB 253, the direction is the same. Expectations for transparency, traceability, and assurance continue to increase. The challenge is that most organizations are still trying to meet these requirements with data spread across multiple systems, manual spreadsheets, inconsistent methodologies, and limited auditability. And this isn't just a sustainability challenge anymore. Yes, sustainability teams are responsible for the data and disclosures, but finance is also responsible for governance, controls, and audit readiness. IT is responsible for data integration, data quality, and trusted data foundation. In other words, three critical functions should be working toward the same outcome. That's why leading organizations are moving beyond point solutions and spreadsheets toward a more integrated, enterprise-wide approach. And that's exactly where we can help you. SAP's answer is an end-to-end process, starting from strategy to sourcing, defining your scope regarding frameworks, assessing the materiality, and finding your gaps before you collect a single data point. Continues with data to disclosure, collect, calculate, control, and report. And at the end, also take action. So turn the disclosure into business steering. And underneath it all, one governed data foundation, drawing from SAP systems, third-party sources, and yes, even Excel. Everything connected on one platform. So here you see the same journey, one level deeper, each stage backed by concrete capabilities, from IRO management and framework selections at the front, through the calculations and reporting engine in the middle, and then at the end, performing analysis and target setting at the end. So I will show you several of these live in a minute. But let me first explain how it comes together architecturally. SAP Sustainability Control Tower carries reporting, governance, and analytics. SAP Sustainability Footprint Management carries the carbon calculations. And non-SAP data plugs in where it lives. That can be via file uploads or SAP DataSphere. And across the top, the AI layer. Joule as the interaction point, part of the direction toward autonomous finance. So the principle is what matters. AI embedded in the process, not bolted on at the end. So how does this actually look in the system? We will follow the process end to end through the eyes of the people who actually runs it. So let me now go to the process for a visual company. So before any ESG data can be collected or reporting, organizations need a clear and consistent picture of who they are, legally, operationally, and geographically. Here, the solutions enables ESG reporting managers to configure the organizational master data that forms the backbone of all sustainability reporting. Using these master data capabilities, ESG managers such as John can define the dimensions, legal entity, business location, account, or reporting line that determine how ESG data is structured, aggregated, and attributed across the enterprise. And these dimensions can be imported directly from SAP systems via native integrations or via file upload, and then mapped across all relevant sustainability areas in ESG. This setup is one-time investment that pays dividends across every reporting cycle. So consistent organizational boundaries mean consistent auditable ESG data. But one of the most common challenges in that part is keeping pace with a rapidly expanding and evolving regulatory landscape. Organizations operating across multiple jurisdictions often face the complexity of reporting against several frameworks simultaneously. Each standard should be mapped to the relevant disclosure requirements and data points within the system, so the ESG reporting manager can easily configure a reporting scope that correct metrics, obligations, and materiality considerations linked and ready to be used. Now I'm switching to the system and want to show you how does it look from master data point of view. Here you can see the dimensions that will be important to collect ESG data and structure for your organizations. As you can see, some of these master data points are similar where you have already on S/4HANA. For example, when we click on account part, you can see that import from Pile or import from SAP systems are possible, either on S/4HANA or SAP DataSphere. And when it comes to go to the reporting frameworks, and let me explain what are the standard ones supported at the moment with pre-delivered SAP metrics. First of all, the ESRS for the European regulations, IFRS S1 and S2, also for the global requirements for different jurisdictions, and EU taxonomy as part of CSRD processes. So if you also need a specific customized reporting standard for your company, you can also extend that easily and define that in the system. So now let me go back and explain you how this pre-built framework coverage dramatically reduces the time and consultancy costs required to set up a compliant reporting process and ensures that as regulations evolve, updates can be applied consistently across the entire data and metric structure. And that starts from a defendable disclosure aspect and with a governed metric sets. Here, Sustainability Control Tower Managed Metrics application gives the reporting managers like John a single structured view of all sustainability metrics available across ESG areas. So quickly check that in the system. And in the Manage Metrics app, as you can see, we can filter down according to the sustainability areas, and we have different metric types as quantitative, requiring some calculation logics, and qualitative for narratives one. And also the metric categories, currently we have more than 900 SAP provided metrics available for reporting standards such as ESRS, EU taxonomy, and IFRS. Now let me start from the quantitative ones, and the first one is total energy consumption. We can deep dive a bit to understand what kind of pre-delivered information you can have there. As you see, the sustainability area and sustainability matter is already assigned there, and we can see the measures, the energy consumption calculations working on the background. The leading reporting hierarchies and target direction can be chosen in the setup. But most importantly, the disclosure reference on ESRS part and the relevant data point is automatically assigned. There you can also see the calculation definition as defined by the system, and then how you can drill down by choosing different categories here, such as energy classification, energy sourcing type, energy mix, etc. So let me continue with the qualitative ones. But for that purpose, I will choose one from IFRS, since I also want to emphasize the interoperability aspect of these pre-delivered metrics. For this specific metric, as you can see, that's required for some general disclosures. It's important both for ESRS and IFRS. And there you can see the assignment of the data points and the reference type as semi-narrative. So there you should just collect data once to report on that metric, and then you can disclose it more than once for ESRS, for IFRS S1 and S2. These SAP provided metrics are aligned to major frameworks out of the box, but the system also supports custom metric creation for organizations with unique reporting needs. And the result is a metrics foundation that is consistent, traceable, and built to withstand external audit from day one. Before the data collection can begin, organizations should also need to clearly define the boundaries of what they are reporting on and why. So in Sustainability Control Tower, the reporting scope is not just a technical configuration, it is the direct expression of an organization's materiality assessment results. It's much better to see that live, so let me show you one reporting scope I prepared for the sake of this demo. Actually, it's IFRS S1 and S2 scope for a company called BA AG, and that's a company operating globally. There I had the option to choose the organizations I want to include in the reporting scope. Here, of course, you can exclude the regions that are not relevant for that part, and for example, Germany can be one of them. And at the same time, you can also choose the materiality approach assigned to this reporting scope. So here, since it's IFRS, materiality should be there. For ESRS, we should go for double materiality. And then I can see which topics are chosen by the company as material topics. And then we can also investigate what are the disclosure requirements on that part and what are the associated metrics to be collected as part of that reporting scope. So the result is a reporting scope that's not only complete, but fully documented and auditable. So giving both internal and external auditors the confidence that every disclosure decision was grounded in a structured materiality process. However, it's clear that one of the most persistent challenges in ESG reporting is data collection. So here we address that problem through a well-established data collection and workflow concept that allows ESG reporting managers like John to set up structured data collection items across all organizational units and also ESG measures. So he can see each item can be assigned to a specific data entry method, a processor, an approver, and a validity period. So accountability is clear from the outset. On the demo environment, now let's deep dive into the data collection. So here we can choose an entry and see that for my global companies, affiliate on the Brazil, dependent on the business location type. For carbon emissions, I want to collect data via workflows for a specific period defined here. And there will be a processor and also, of course, in real life, a different approver on that process. So then when you go to the configure data entry, depending on the type of the data you want to collect, you can actually choose a data collection cycle that can be period specific, quarterly, or yearly. And then you can also choose which dimensions, and you may remember that from the master data app, are relevant for this data collection, and then you can activate them. After defining that, then it's time to automatize these workflows and create these data collection periods automatically in the system. Here you can see some pre-built ones and the approval processes and status quickly. So as a result of that data collection instances, people who are responsible as processors and approvers will receive that data collection forms. An example for energy consumption for business location New York. We can see that Joe Smith should provide information about the energy carrier, energy sourcing type in megawatt hours. So this persona-based design means that each contributor only sees and acts on what's relevant to them, reducing confusions and also accelerating data submissions across your organization. Every entry is timestamped, traceable, and fits directly into the governed metrics and calculation engine, so eliminating the need for any manual consolidation downstream. And carbon and energy data are also a key in ESG reporting, especially in the data collection process. So rather than treating carbon footprint calculation and ESG reporting as two separate processes connected by manual exports and reconciliations, SAP delivers them as a single governed end-to-end workflow. On the left-hand side, you see Anna, the sustainability expert, has already completed the December 2025 footprint inventory in sustainability footprint management. All data sources at 100% completion, and the calculation has run successfully, so the results are ready to use. On the right-hand side, you see the sustainability control tower, the central mechanism for the reporting of sustainability. So here, the application shows the carbon emissions metric with the SFM connectivity confirmed as connected. So these two solutions are natively working there. And now Anna can trigger a direct import of the calculated footprint data, selecting the specific periods such as months, quarters, year, and importing the validated results directly into the ESG metric layer. From ESG controller Michael's point of view, the question is never just whether the numbers are right, but it is whether you can prove it. As sustainability disclosures become subject to the same assurance standards as financial reporting, the ability to demonstrate full traceability over every data point is no longer optional. Luckily, we have that auditing capabilities already embedded in the solution in the changelog app. When I click on that, you can see that the reporting scope created by Joe Smith, and there was an update in this reporting scope yesterday. So when I click on that, I can see all the changes happened there regarding description, name, release date, and also when did it happen. So that's valid for all other change types, such as create, delete, and update, and for different data groups here, as you see. So when an auditor asks why a scope 2 figure moved between periods, the answer is already in the system. It is the foundation of audit readiness, and it is there by design. But at the end of the process, we should also produce the report. And we know that drafting the report itself has traditionally taken weeks. Here, Rebecca, the Chief Sustainability Officer, starts from a template aligned to our reporting standards, and the AI generates a complete structured draft. This part is important. Every section grounded in the validated metrics already in the system, not a free-floating text. But of course, she also keeps full editorial control, using AI or manually lengthen, shorten, insert metric values, review against the live preview, or collaborate. Faster, yes, but more importantly, consistent and traceable, because every statement is anchored in the same governed data. Just a quick overview of that generate ESG reports with AI functionality. Here you see that SAP already provides some generic templates for ESRS E1 and also for generic ESG reports templates, and you can easily copy them and customize according to your own needs. But let me just quickly show you a completed report, and here the selected sections here. When I go, for example, to the carbon footprint assessment part, I can see the results in text, but also as defined in the template, charts are available. So when I click on preview, I can see the report quickly. And at the same time, I can download it either in PDF or Word format. So you can share this Word format in your departments and collaborate with other line of businesses easily. And this information gets all the data available in the sustainability metrics in the system, and tables and charts are customizable according to your needs. Reporting is only half the value. So CSO also need a live multidimensional view against targets filterable by different options. So you should drill down into any metric and then see exactly where performance is trending right and where the gap to target is widening. That's how we deal with the analytics in the sustainability control tower. On the analytics part, when we go to analyze ESG data app, here I can see for the reporting structure of my company, business region, global, what are the social and environmental metrics and what is the actual number and what was the target on that. So the green ones are okay. And if I see any red one, like here in the water consumption, that's a problem. But let's choose only the environmental ones and deep dive to one of them. I will again choose the total energy consumption, and here you can see different business locations of my company and the actual values and target values. Here I can quickly change the type of the data, and I can also choose different illustration methods, different graphics, as you see. And when I need to compare some specific data there, I can also add a chart. And for example, I can choose to have a metric such as, let's say, greenhouse gas emissions scope 1, and then choose a greenhouse gas by region configuration. And then I can quickly see only scope 1 and easily compare the overall impact with the total energy consumption. So this combination of high-level oversight and drill-down analytical depth gives sustainability leaders the intelligence they need to move from reactive reporting to proactive performance management, turning ESG data into a genuine business steering tool. And acting on it looks like this. The sustainability initiatives embedded in the system connects every sustainability program to the metrics it is designed to move. That can be baseline, projected state, projected benefits. And strategy stops being a set of intentions and becomes a portfolio of measured, accountable actions. So that's the full loop, one governed flow from organizational structure to a disclosure an auditor can trust, with AI applied where it saves real time, and analytics that turn the report into a steering instrument. And that's how we aim to help the organizations to achieve their sustainability targets. So now back to Tatjana.
Thank you, Bilge. What we want to do now is, hopefully now that you have seen how ESG reporting and performance management works, look at who is already working with this and applying what SAP offers. Oh yeah, thank you. Bilge, are you sharing, right?
Yes, I'm sharing.
Okay. Yeah, so if you can go please to the next slide. We have, of course, many companies that already use SAP. What we want to highlight is that it doesn't matter if you are a smaller company or a big global company or sitting in different industries. Our solutions are made for all types of companies. And here we see a very short abstract of companies that have successfully worked with, especially Sustainability Control Tower, partly also with Sustainability Footprint Management. So we have Knapp AG in the high-tech sector in Austria. We have Mercedes-Benz, all of you know them, automotive industry in Germany. And we have also Fachini, which is from industrial manufacturing in Brazil. All of them have achieved to have the material metrics that they need to report on in SCT, in Sustainability Control Tower, have automated workflows, especially relevant here, Mercedes-Benz, who were able to automate 95% of the workflows that are relevant in CSRD reporting, which of course is great then because they can use that time saved for other activities. And then also Fachini were very happy because they basically took only days instead of weeks to answer about 600 reporting questions that were relevant to them. And all of these companies as well now have one integrated data source of truth for all of the sustainability metrics that matter to their company for reporting, but then also using it for insights into where can we improve our performance. And then if you go to the next slide, Bilge, one thing that we also want to highlight is we as SAP, of course, also need to report on our ESG performance. We have regulations that we need to comply with, but we also have our investors who have a big interest in how we perform sustainably. And at the same time, as a large global company with many sites and business units, we have, of course, a certain complexity as well, like the other companies shown before, in how we best manage our reporting processes efficiently, but also making sure that they are robust and help us withstand the audit processes that we are, of course, also subject to. And at the same time, one of the main metrics that we, as I'm sure many of you also need to report on, is our corporate carbon footprint, along with where we get increasing requests from our own customers, the product carbon footprint of our software. So all of these things, as SAP, we're applying our own solutions to achieve that. So we are implementing Sustainability Control Tower to have that ESG reporting and that one source of truth really for our ESG data. We also then apply sustainability footprint management to calculate the footprints. And also Green Ledger we are implementing. We didn't speak much about that, but that is all about combining sustainability or carbon data with financial data to really control carbon like we would financial processes. We have carbon budgets internally, for example, that we can manage with that and really get a view of where along the business, along the same financial dimensions and structures that we use in finance and financial accounting, where does the carbon sit to get a better control of that. And so applying these solutions, what we have achieved already is 71% of the metrics that we need to report on are now in Sustainability Control Tower. Some still need to be sourced from elsewhere, but that high of a percentage is already automated in the system. And 80% of our corporate carbon footprint is calculated automatically with SFM based on the system. Here also, as I'm sure many of you have the same situation, some data still needs to be brought into the system from outside, but we're striving for a higher automation there constantly. So yeah, we as SAP face the same challenges as you do, learn with the same systems and apply the same systems. And this is also what this community is about. And then how can you as a community learn more and stay updated? We have, of course, many resources for you and have just picked a few here. So if you do already implement, plan to implement, or are interested in implementing Sustainability Control Tower, we have deep learning journeys that really help you understand the background and how to run Sustainability Control Tower. And then if you go to the next slide, Bilge, we also have blog articles, which are regularly updated, which always show what is the latest in SCT for you to stay up to date. And please follow, please look into these if you want to, see the latest and greatest that is happening and stay up to date. Okay, so this hopefully gave you an overview. I'm sure whatever your role is in your company, if you are an ESG controller, if you work in the sustainability department, if you look at sustainability out of the office of the CFO, hopefully we have been able to share a little bit with you how we view sustainability, how also maybe you can talk about sustainability in this new era of AI. Depending on who you need to speak to, how to show also the value of sustainability that is not confined to only regulatory compliance. And doing all of that with our solutions at SAP. And now we are happy to have some time for Q&A. And Larissa, please help us moderate through.
All right. First of all, thank you very much, Tatjana. Thank you, Bilge, for the presentation and for the demo. Very interesting also to see what is already in, what aspects are already covered. And we have one question in the chat, and the question is, thank you for the presentation. However, I'm a little worried that my SCT system looks very basic and nothing like the system which SAP have demoed. Looks like an entirely different program. If you can comment on this.
Yeah, I can quickly comment on that. Actually, that was from a production system. So we have feature deliveries to the cloud systems, to all productive systems. So you should all have this functionality embedded in your current product. Of course, that also depends on how it is implemented. And if you need maybe any additional support on that, how to activate these new features, you can check the resources we shared here and also contact your SAP responsible, and we would be glad to support you.
All right, thank you for that. So please leverage this unique opportunity. As I've already mentioned in the chat, the PDF will be available in the description to this video shortly after we finish the live stream. And of course, all the please take your time, check it out with all the resources that were already mentioned. And if there's still something unclear, feel free to follow up directly. I think this would be the best option here. So again, to all the participants, now is the chance to bring up your questions. And while you are thinking or probably typing your questions in the chat, I saw the presentation. I saw all these challenges that customers and partners might have with handling the process of ESG. And my question is actually, do we, or from SAP side, do we plan to introduce any AI agents to simplify the ESG handling process?
Bilge, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I can also take this one. Yeah, there are some planned agents, yes, and there will be some official roadmap items when it is clarified more. So soon you will hear more. And when you go back to the Sapphire content, actually, there you can also see some announcement about that part and some demos recorded there. So it can also give you a broader understanding of what you can expect from the sustainability suite in that sense.
All right. Thank you very much. So maybe we can also share the links to those resources in the chat. So I'll try to find them now. But I would like to ask one more question because, again, this ESG process seems to be very complex, a lot of routine and tedious tasks. So my question is, a lot of companies, or at least from what we've heard from our conversation with the customers, a lot of reporting takes place in spreadsheets. So, and some of the information also are stuck in non-SAP systems. So my question would be if there are any, how to handle this situation and what does it a realistic starting point to take it seriously and do something about it?
Yeah, that's a common question from our customers as well. So thank you for asking that. Of course, we don't aim to achieve everything at once, and we also respect the pace and the current foundation of our customers. So this is why our solutions are open in terms of integration and provides different options to our customers to integrate data, especially for our install-based customers, for S/4HANA integrations. That can be a good automation starting point. And then over the time, they may also activate other modules from Sustainability Suite, such as Sustainability Footprint Management, and integrate carbon data directly from that part. And they can still have their Excel spreadsheets for some specific tasks, and they can use file upload option for that. And I'm sure there are also some question marks regarding some operational systems they used, and they can use the available APIs to integrate that data. And also SAP DataSphere is our go-to data harmonization tool, and that supports many dimensions I demonstrated during the session. So we have flexible options, and that should be investigated very well at the beginning of the project while defining the scope of it. So, and we would be also glad to help our customers with our adoption teams at the beginning of their journey.
All All right. Thank you very much for this. I can't see more questions in the chat. Again, for those who will be watching the replay, feel free to contact us if you have any questions after watching the recording and also checking the PDF. As I've already mentioned, PDF will be included in the description to this video. And of course, watch out for more sessions to come. We are planning until end of the year to offer several more live streams for various sustainability products that SAP is offering. So stay tuned, and we will be very much happy to welcome you in one of our upcoming sessions. Thank you very much. Also, thank you, Tatjana and Bilge. And have a nice day and bye-bye.
Thank you, Larissa. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.